Mrs. Sophie Wiederman.
And till 44, we didn't have any trouble. Unless they took the men away, everybody went to the army, and we didn't have what to eat, all these troubles. But in 44, then the Germans came in, and they came in on Passover time. And well, there was one experience. You see, I was standing outside, and when the first Germans came in, you know, and they came in to take the rooms for the army. The army was passing to Romania. And I was so young, I didn't understand. We heard a lot, but I wasn't afraid. I was standing outside on the porch by our house, and two officers came to ask for rooms. And I talked to them. Then it was Passover. Then they come and they took room. The two Germans took rooms in our house because they realized there was girls in the house, but we didn't know. See, I didn't understand. I was so naive, what you know. And after a few days, they started we realized my mother wasn't alive. My father realized that something is, they're asking too much question about the girls. So they sent me over to our cousin's house. They didn't have children. I'll never forget that. Me and my sister, she was 4 years older than me. We worked for almost 3 days and nights under the covers and the bed because we were afraid they shouldn't find us. I have a feeling, my father never told me, but I know that I beat him up. He should tell where the girls were, and he said that wasn't my daughters. They were just coming from some place, and I don't know, but they knew that we were Jewish girls. And that was in the second days of Passover. Then they left, they come knocking, and then a lot of Germans came. You know, they took rooms in my cousin's house too. They were sleeping on the floor in all the rooms, and we were hiding in the beds, you know, and under the covers. And then after somebody came to knock on the door and said that all of them have left. We came out, we went home. I'll never forget that. We were so frightened. We didn't realize, you know, the older people didn't realize what was going on. We didn't. We were so childish. Well, that's that. Then they took us to the ghetto. It was a Friday. They took everything, as much as we could take, and we left the house and all. And we slept over in the synagogue. I don't remember. Was it Saturday morning or Sunday morning? I think it was Sunday morning. They put us 5-5, you know, on the line, and we walked back to that town, and they put us with different families. There were lots of families in one house. And we stayed there for 3 weeks. They started coming in the morning and evening, you know, to count the people and count everybody. And then they started picking on the people that should, you know, cut their beards and all. My father was a very religious man. And he had a very long beard, and I used to beg him. I was afraid. I said, Daddy, cut your beard, because I had a feeling they're going to hurt him. And he said, I'm not going to do it. And my sister, I had a married sister, which she lived across the street by another family. I was over to my sister to visit with the children. She had 7 children. And I came home, and my father didn't have his beard, and I didn't recognize him. He was an older man. I was born when they were, you know, and we had grandchildren already. I remembered my father always with a long beard, and when I came into the house, I've never seen him before, and I didn't recognize him. And I looked at him, and he started crying. He says, my own child don't recognize me. And the people told me in the house that the Germans came, they beat him up. And he had to cut his beard, and he put it in in a little bag, and he said he's going to take it with him over where he dies, because, you know, they're very religious people. Anyway, we stayed there. I went to work for some days. They took us to work, you know, the younger girls and boys, the places where they had the rooms, the Germans had rooms. I worked for a while, a few hours a day over there, and that's all we did in the ghetto. Next, yeah. Well, we stayed for 3 weeks, and then they told us to prepare food and things, which we didn't have much, and we took whatever we could take, and they took us out in the park, whatever kind of a park it was there, everybody. And we walked to a different town. It was a long walk to the trains. And I don't remember how many hours we walked. Some people died. The first time I saw dying people on the street, there was older people. They couldn't make it, sick people. There was one very religious man, which he came from my town, a very, very religious man. And he died, and I remember everybody said that because he was such a religious man, God took him away, he shouldn't go to, we didn't know where we were going after all the troubles. Anyway, we went to the trains, and they put us by 100 people in one of these cars. We went for days, I don't remember how many days. I remember we came to Kasho, and before we passed to Poland, my father was in the First World War all over, and he recognized, and everybody used to ask him, you know where are we going? You know where we're going? He always said, people, don't worry, we're probably going someplace to work. Everything is going to be all right. We're going to Germany. When we passed to Poland, my father sat down, and he didn't speak. I knew right away that something is wrong. He saw where we were going. He didn't want to frighten the people, and they started asking. He said, I can't see, I'm sitting now. Because from the small little windows, you had to stand up so you can see something. Anyway, we got to Auschwitz at night, around 12 o'clock, to Birkenau. And we didn't know, it was dark, only the lights, and the SS were there, the Gestapo. I didn't even know how they looked, what they were wearing, these different clothes they had, all colors and all. There was people taking us off from the trains. I'll never forget. We were all so sleepy, we didn't sleep for nights. And the children, they mostly felt sorry for the children because they knew this was the couples, the men, people, couples that they worked on the crematoriums, but we didn't know nothing. And they knew where we are going. They picked us up in their arms, and I remember they were talking German or something, but we didn't know they were Jewish. At least I thought they were Germans because they were speaking German. They put us on the lines again, and Mengele was there, to make the selections, and I ran back 3 times. I walked with my father. I was holding on to my father, and we were walking, and it seemed like I forget how in a Wald, German, you don't know, tree in a forest, trees and all. And I remember they were telling stories that they took the Polish Jews to forests and they killed them there, and I figured that's it. And I said, my father was very, very religious. We weren't supposed to see anything bad is going to happen. We had to have hope. Everything is going to be all right. Even the children from the neighbors, when the ghetto started, they weren't supposed to say anything. He was always getting very angry. You're not supposed to talk like this. God's going to help. But I was so very frightened then that I had courage to say, I said, Father, they're going to kill us. I was more afraid to tell my father because I had to believe that much. I said, Father, they're going to kill us. They're going to shoot us here. And I was holding on to him, and he says, my child, wherever you go, always believe in God. And that second, they took him away. They had those sticks. They put him around here, and they took him away. And I was running back to find my father and to find the rest of it. All of a sudden, my sister was gone, everybody was gone. And I was running back and running, I didn't know where I was running, to the people, to the train. And the old people and the children and the packages, everything was lying around by the trains. Only the healthy people and the young, they were standing in the lines, and they were picking out the people. I was running back, and one German came and took me by the hand and took me back again. Of the other side, I still didn't know where I was going, and I ran from him back again to the other people. Probably I had to stay alive. There come another one and says to me, don't be dumb, come with me, start speaking Hungarian to me. I didn't know that well in Hungarian because I spoke Romanish. I went to Romanish school, but I understood what he was saying. If somebody speaks to you in a language that you understand, even when you're frightened, somehow, you trust them all. He took me by my hand, and he took me to another street, to another place, and over there I found my niece and my sister. And most of the girls, my friends, my neighbors, all the young girls were standing in the line, so I stayed with them. Then they took us onto the zona. They cut us the hair off. They took the clothes. They took the earrings out. I had very long hair, and they cut it all off. And we took showers. They gave us a dress and something over there and a piece of bread. They took us out to a different room. But we didn't know that the second place, the other room was where the gas was, you know. It wasn't the same place. We didn't know anything. And when around middle of the night, the men came in. The few men they picked out from the whole ghetto. They were standing dressed in the stripes, clothes and everything. And we recognized a few cousins. My brother-in-law was there, more of the youngest. In the morning, they took us to the blocks, you know, to the barracks, and we stayed. And we were very lucky. We had one Blokova. She was they said she lives, and I hope she lives very long. She was a Slovak girl, Editka. She had protection because she was a poor girl. She was there from the beginning. They built Birkenau. And, you know, all these girls, they had jobs over there, but most of them weren't so good. But we used to call her Mama. Everybody called her Mama. Even the Gestapo, the SS, if Edita came for something to ask for her children, they always gave her whatever she wanted to. She used to go organize dresses for us. We should change every week. She used to see that we had shoes. She used to see that the girls that were sick, and Mengele used to come every Sunday to make selections, you know, for the crematorium. She used to give them aspirin, keep them in bed, and she used to stand behind them and saying, we shouldn't say that everybody was healthy. All my children are healthy, she used to say. She saved a lot of lives like this. And all the girls that worked with her, she had her secretary and all those other girls, everybody was afraid of her. Whatever she said, that went. I have no girls in my, Mengele used to say, Edita, how happened that you never have girls around the blocks we have? She says, I take care of them and they're always healthy. She never let anybody take her from her place. But we couldn't stay there for long. That was our lager. It was always like a quarantine. After 6 weeks, they took us to work. They gave us the numbers. And we were lucky then was the selection too. They took my sister, I cried, finally I was lucky, somebody felt sorry for me, they gave me back my sister. She wasn't so healthy because she was sick before we went to the ghetto. She had an operation and she couldn't pick up, you know, because she was hungry, you know. And she didn't care much because she saw she was very intelligent and she knew what's going on over there, so it didn't bother her. Whenever she dies, she knew that nobody's coming out from there. Anyway, we were lucky to come in the first commando, the SK. There were a lot of German women, you know, prostitutes, political things. I don't know why they were punished. Anyway, they came to Auschwitz, and in Auschwitz they were in the first commando. And 50 girls from my block fell into that commando. Edita, my Blokova, she was crying like a baby. Why do my children have to go in a place? That was the worst. Everybody was afraid of that commando. But we were so lucky with that commando. We worked hard, but the chef, the Unterscharführer, had a girlfriend, a Polish woman, not a Jewish, Polish. She was cop on the commando. And whatever she said went. He changed. We worked, summer was very hot. And we used to work in the fields with machines, you know, and everything. And he took us back to sleep at days time and took us at 6 o'clock at night. He came to pick us up again, took us out, and we worked for a few hours. And in the morning, 3 o'clock, we went back again to work. He took us back. That's how nice he was. He was an older man. And whatever she said, she took. And I remember the Blokova, she used to come every evening when we came home. She stand, you know, she couldn't get out, only to stand when we walked in from outside and to count her children. And he used to say to her, Edita, don't worry, everybody's all right. She used to take care of us. We worked in that commando for, I don't know how many months, over the summer. And then in fall, of course, was no work anymore. So they put all the girls in B-lager. And we were waiting over there doing nothing for selections. They used to select all the people. They didn't have work for them, so they just took them to the crematoriums. Well, one night they woke us up and it was on 12 o'clock, and Dachman, the lager commandant, came with lots of SS. We thought it was a selection to the crematorium again. It was a Tuesday night, I remember. We had the bread and we got potatoes then. Tuesday night we used to get something more, zulag, a little milk sometime. We had some potatoes and we were keeping, interesting how the person is. We knew we were going to die, but first we had to eat up whatever we had. We were so mixed up like animals. I guess that kind of medication they give us, that broom. We didn't think nothing but to eat and to sleep, and whatever they say to us, just like the dummies, whatever. But we knew, at first we didn't realize that crematoriums. We didn't know what was going on over there because, like I said, the Blokova always said to the girls, don't tell the children. It happens to be that we were most young children, from our ghetto. Mm-hmm. And she said, don't tell them, let them believe whatever. We said it's a bakery, we said it's factories. We didn't know, you couldn't see from outside what was going on. And there was a Slovak girl that she was the secretary, and she said, Edita, we have to tell them. They're going to get smarter if they know, at least they know how to take care of themselves, to watch out. She says, they have time to find out. They used to fight between each other, And when time finally we found out that over there is the gas chamber. Anyway, we used to watch from work. See, where we worked up on a hill, and down were the crematoriums. And one day we went out to work, and there was Polish man working with us, from the camp. And one couple from the man came over to help me. I didn't know how to take the wheat, how to bind. I wasn't used to that kind of work. And he said to me, did you believe in God? And I said, of course I believe in God. He says, I don't. I'm here for, 3 or 4 years, he says. I said, are you Jewish? I thought he was German. I was afraid to tell him anything. He says, yes, I'm Jewish. And I come from a very religious home too. He says, look down there, see what they're doing to the people? Then I realized I didn't know. And I saw coming in a transport, the train was just coming in the middle of the day. And all the people went into that yard over there in front, and they were taking off their clothes and everything. We came in at night, we didn't realize where. The only thing I remember when we walked in, I saw children, on the fire outside burning, little feet and hands. But I was so frightened and so mixed up that I wasn't sure I saw it, or I just imagined it, After that, I was sure because I saw it lots of time. And he says to me, you look down there and you watch, you see what they're doing to the Jews. Like this, there may be a chance, if you know what's happening, you could watch out for yourself. See that you eat whatever you get, see that you stay clean, see that you are healthy. Maybe there is a chance to get out of here. I was so angry at him, and he was talking against God and everything, against religion and all. And then I realized the way they were putting their things, hanging up their shoes and their dresses, when they're coming out. They thought they were taking a bath, but they never came out. We used to pass every evening when we came back from work over there. It was on the street, 1 from one side, there had 12 from Birkenau, I think in Auschwitz. 2 were in Bilager, where I slept just across. So we stayed there, like I said, till the fall, and then the Mengele started coming around, not only Sundays and not only Saturdays, once every day and twice a day to pick out sick people and to take them to the crematorium. One morning they put us at Celapel, and they said there's coming somebody, a man is coming to take people out from Birkenau for work, for whatever, not a factory, outside work. Anyway, he's a private man, he's kind of a doctor, and he's taking people for work. We stayed, we were happy that we're going to get some work. There was hope, if you work, stay alive. He picked out by 100 girls. Him, and there was 2 women, German women. It passed, after a few days, we found out that it's Dr. Goebbels' factory in Auschwitz where they're making experimenting. And they're taking all these girls to make experimenting. I didn't know from experimenting, things like this. Of course, we weren't that dumb. I was reading and I went to school and all, but who told stories like this, with what kind of experiment. I didn't know what was going on. But finally, one of the girls managed to frighten us, to tell us they're cutting legs, they're cutting hands, they didn't really experiment was for womankind, that they shouldn't have children. But they didn't know, they were all children. They heard something, so they had to tell stories. They had passed 3 or 4 weeks and he didn't come. We were so happy that he didn't come. We forgot about that. They're going to the crematorium already, then going for experiment. One morning they took us out and said, and who is here? The doctor. We were so frightened, we started running away. All of us. Everybody was running in a different direction. I don't know where we took the strength. Because where do you run over there? You can't go any place. You can't get out of the camp. Everybody, I remember, I'll give you my friend. She lives not far from here. She was with us. She's a really tough lady. She was even younger. I think she's a year or 2 younger. She was between the youngest girls. She gave one punch in the window. She broke the window and everybody jumped. Because they took us in, to the block again to keep us over there till they're going to pick us up. And everybody ran out. We ran over here and over there through the camp. You couldn't go out. We managed to stay away till 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Everybody was after us. Finally, they got us all back together again. They took us to the bath, got a shower, and we walked to Auschwitz. We got into Auschwitz, and he said, don't be afraid. Nothing is going to happen. You're going to have good food. You're going to be in clean beds. You're going to have everything you want. You're going to have very nice work, not hard work. You're going to be inside. And that was all true. It was a hospital. We had everything. We came in there, beds, new dresses. And imagine from Birkenau where we slept 15 and 20 together in a place. I had a bed for myself with a white blanket and pillow, and everything was satin elegant. They had all these beautiful things. They took it away, and it was beautiful and clean. And we worked in a sewing studio. They called us, sewing, just fixing things, and just so that we worked something. We had plenty of food, and everything was nice, and they took care of us. But the Blokova was crying day and night. She was a very nice lady too. That thing I was lucky. She was a Polish woman, older woman. She was for the first that was in Birkenau too, and she knew all the troubles. And she was the Blokova and that lager and that block in Auschwitz, and she knew what was going on. And she said, my God, I have to live that through. Such young children used to take only married women, more mature women. Then we came in, 17, 18, 16, 15-year-old girls. She never saw that before. It was, in the end, they were all mixed up already. They didn't have enough already, so they took, everybody. She said, such young children I've never seen before. I've been here for 4 years, she said. I've seen that through. She was talking and talking. We didn't really realize what. But then, day after day, we were sitting and working, and we seen the nurses, dressed in white and everything, just like a hospital. They used to come and call out a name, take in a lady. And then she was sick for a while. They never gave her anything, medication, for the pain or they used to have fever and nothing. There was a lady, I don't know where she came from, she had a little boy with her. And he was so handsome, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. I guess she was from Belgium, someplace from this country. The lady was a beauty, tall, gorgeous woman. And we were so surprised to see a little boy. We haven't seen children in such a long time. We didn't even know. We knew that twins had a place in Birkenau, and we used to see them when we passed through, the twins. They were making an experiment on the twins too. At the beginning, we were thinking how lucky they are. They had enough food and they were clean and all, but we didn't know what's going on. And that little boy, everybody was crazy, but even the Germans, he was so sweet and beautiful. And we asked the lady over there, he said, how come a mother with a child? We never seen that before. We thought they're making to the baby something. And they said that she came on her own will, free will. She asked to be in that place, only that she can keep the boy with her. She hoped, to keep the child alive with her till after the war. She didn't mind whatever they're doing to her, unless she keeps the child. And the Germans, everybody was crazy about her. The kid had a beautiful time. Then we find out little by little she used to tell us that they're doing, what they're really doing. So the ladies, the women shouldn't have children. And then there was an experiment that they put together a man and a woman, and she did have a child. You know, stories, every place, no matter how it is, people make up stories. Anyway, we were there for a month, and they used to take blood tests. They used to ask us questions, who was married, who had relations, you know, or they used to want to pick out. Finally, it was on the end already, you know, before the Russian came in, so it came a order from Berlin. They should stop. They should take out all the young Frauen, all the girls. They should throw them out from there, only women. They shouldn't keep the young. So they took us out, and my sister was with me. She was 20 and a half then. She was older than me, 4 years. And she was very sick. We had to go through another selection. All the time they selected, you know. We had to go through another selection. That was in Auschwitz already. There was a different kind. Mengele wasn't there. There was a different kind of doctor. Of course, he picked my sister. They always picked her because she looked pale and sick, and I started crying very much that I was running on the other side to my sister. And Blokova and the girls from the block was yelling at me, don't go, come back, because the other went they knew where they were going, but I didn't care. I didn't want to be without my sister and my niece. She lives here. If I went, she came after me. You know, we all went, the whole bunch. So everybody was so busy, and the doctor came over to me and he says to me, little one, why are you crying? And the blocker makes to me, I shouldn't say anything, because she knew if I open my mouth, I say I want to go with my sister, he's going to take me, why not? I said, my sister is over there, I want to go with my sister. He says, do you know where your sister is going to go? I said, I don't care, I want to go with my sister. That's my niece, she comes with me too. She was standing, holding on to me. He says, don't cry, show me which is your sister. And I went over there and I showed him my sister. He gave me back my sister. He brought her over. Everybody was stunned. They couldn't believe it, but he took another girl in her place. Because by the Germans, you have to have the right number. But my poor sister, she became very sick after that. They took us out to a different commando. We worked very hard, Grabens, we worked very hard in Auschwitz. And she couldn't take it, she was very sick. They put her into the hospital, and I have never seen her. I know she died over there because a girl from my town was with her. She happens to be sick. And when we walked from Auschwitz to Bergen-Belsen, we were standing at night across that hospital. Everybody was coming over there, the whole camp. And she was standing upstairs, and I said to her, go look where my sister is, I want to see her. And she says, don't worry, she's going to come with the trains, because the sick people, they were supposed to train by trucks and trains, we are going to walk. And I begged her, just call her out, let me see her. But my sister was dead and she didn't want to tell me, see? So we walked then. That was a terrible walking too. We walked most of the time in the snow through Poland, and the people that couldn't walk, they just shot them in the street. And I happened to 150 girls, women, people, whatever. Somehow we had one SS guy that he was a nice guy, and he says he didn't push us too fast, you know. Most of the people went, and we stayed behind. He used to see that we have more food and that, and he said it was very a good thing. He let us sleep some places. But when we had to get up in the morning, when we had to walk after all these people, we saw what was left behind. And I used to recognize friends and people I know. I remember for a while, we walked 5 girls together. We were like a family. I think all of them are here in America. 5 together, and I used to close my eyes because I was afraid I'm going to see somebody from the family. And my niece knew if I see somebody, I'm going to stay there. That's what they did. If I saw a mother. And the daughter passed, and she saw her mother. She went to her mother, and he shot her right on next to her mother. So they knew that if I'm going to see my sister or somebody, so I was holding on to them in the middle, walking 5, and they said, you just close your eyes and walk. For miles and miles we walked like this. Then we came to, finally put us in some kind of trains. but there were open trains, you know, and it was snowing on us. It was in January, February, very cold. And then the bombs came, you know, and they stopped the train someplace. I don't even know where, and they left. And the bombs at night, we couldn't get out, of course, because the Germans were all around. You know. Finally, we got to Bergen-Belsen. Then we came into Bergen-Belsen at night again, and I saw the crematoriums in Bergen-Belsen. And I said to him, it's gonna rain yet. I said, are we going again to a place where they have crematoriums? You know how it is. We knew how bad it is every place, but we still hoped that. But the crematoriums were mostly for the dead, really, in Bergen-Belsen, because by that time, even in Auschwitz, before we left, quite a few days before we left, I was supposed to take apart the crematoriums, and they only left to burn the dead, because they didn't want the Russian, whoever comes, they should find, you know. So we came to Bergen-Belsen. Of course, over there, everybody was there already, most of them sick. They didn't have, in Auschwitz, at least, they kept us clean, and people weren't so sick, but over here, there was nothing. They slept in their clothes. I slept for 4 months, at least. I slept in my same coat. We couldn't undress. We slept on the floor. We didn't even have mattresses, nothing, just the plain floor. And the lice and everything, and the food, then they didn't give us food for weeks, and when they gave us the food, it was sour, and everybody got very sick. But there was one kind of work we went out. We always fought for something to do, me and my group, because we had some kind of feeling, if we get out, you know. There was a Weberei, they called it, some kind of, we did some Narishkeit, nothing really important. We walked out of the camp to a different camp. Over there was a little bit cleaner, and we sat and did something with strings, something. And my niece, she got very sick. She had typhus, I guess it was, but we didn't know. She had very high fever, and I didn't let her lie down. I didn't let her stay in that place. I said, we have to get out, because I knew if I leave her in the morning, I won't find her at night, because even the people that wasn't dead yet, they couldn't move themselves. They took them out together with the deads over there, and they finally died, and I didn't want to leave her there. But there was one morning, she had a crisis probably. She was all crazy. She didn't know from fever what's going with her. She was hitting me. I was pulling her out of the place, and she was hitting me. There was other 2 girls, which we used to sleep together, but somehow on that night there were so many people pushing in that they got separated from us. They both live in Israel now. And I was looking for the other girl that she should help me take her out. I couldn't manage by myself. I wasn't strong. I didn't have the strength, and she was hitting me, you know. She was so sick. And I cried, and I called her. I said, Rivka, you have to help me. She's going to die here. And somehow she came over, and we schlepped her out of that, we took her out of that place. I know for sure I saved her life that morning. I'm so sure, all my life. I remember just, and she was crying, please let me lie down. I said, you're not going to lie down here, you're going to lie down over there in the Weberei, because over there, the woman that took care, she was nice, you know. It wasn't really important, so she didn't mind so much. And that girl, my friend, she had found someplace a little jar like this, a brown little jar. She used to take water from the toilets. You know, there was no water. The water came down, you know, from the bathroom. She used to take a little water from there, and she used to always splash it in her face, you know, when she fainted. She fainted all the time from sickness. And we took her in the middle. We walked always 5. We took her in the middle. She didn't know where she was going, because the SS was standing and counting us. And if they saw somebody sick, they pushed them back, of course. And I just said, just walk straight. I talked to her, just walk straight. And the other one took the water from her pocket. She had it in her pocket, and gave her a splash in her face. And she always, came back to herself. Till we finally passed, and we came in over there, and I put her down on the floor. I remember the lady gave me a piece of bread, and I pushed it in her mouth, and I said, swallow, swallow. She didn't know what was going on, just, like a machine, I swallow, and everybody after her. That day, she started swallowing something, It wasn't much, but whatever. And she started coming back to herself. We came back at night, and I said to her, she understood already. I said, you see, now you're going to be all right, I said to her. If I would have left her that day, I would never have found her. Finally, they started talking that the Germans are going, little by little, every day you realize there is less from them, you know, they were going away. I had some kind of fantasy. My brother, I had two brothers, but the younger one, was older than 7 years than me, he was a soldier. He was in Yugoslavia someplace. I always hoped, you know, in every family, children love each other, but there is always a sister with a sister or a brother with, you know, I was the baby and he always spoiled me and I looked up to him like he's, you know, special. And I always had a fantasy that my brother is going to come and he's going to help me get out of that place. You know, a child, whatever trouble I went through, I always seen my brother coming for me. After my knees got better, I started getting sick. When I get sick, it's really serious. I hold myself, you know. I used to cry, you have to stay alive. I'm going to come back, and your mother's going to ask me where I left you. I lost my sister already, and you know, somehow I felt responsible that I'm going to come. I figured I'm going to come home. My older sisters, they're going to be alive, you know. We still didn't want to believe. Whatever we saw, we didn't want to believe that nobody's left. Then finally I got sick. And it was in the last days before the English came in. I was lying on the floor and everybody was dying around me. All the girls I knew and everybody, they were sitting and talking, just falling asleep, you know, like. And I said to my niece, I can't make it. And then she used to cry. You see, you helped me. Now you be strong. The English are coming. Everybody was telling me, just stay alive. But we didn't have nothing, no water, no food, for weeks and weeks, nothing. We used to eat I used to go, till I could still walk. I used to go out and we used to pick the garbage, you know, from weeks back, bring something back for her, bring some for myself. And then I said to her, I remember one morning, I said, the first tank came in, you know, everybody whoever could get up, run to the windows and see that the English are here, the soul. And I said, look out, is my brother on the tank? You know, I had a feeling that he's going to come, the first one, you know, and they thought I was crazy because from the fever and all, but I knew what I was doing because I had it in my head, you know. And then I became very sick. I guess the disappointment and everything. And I couldn't, the English came, they took care, of course, they started giving out food, and that's why people started dying, because the stomach couldn't take it. They were trying to do good. They gave us conserve with bread, but nobody could swallow it, and the stomach didn't take it, and after that, so many more people died than before. But I guess I was lucky I couldn't eat anything. I didn't eat, and finally we could get out. We weren't afraid. The Germans were gone. We used to lie outside, you know, on the grass or something. And the doctors came with the ambulances every hour and hour to pick up the sick people to the hospitals. But I didn't want to go to the hospital because I had my head still, the crematorium. I knew if you go to the hospital, you don't come back. The girls cried, go to the hospital, in a few days you come back, you'll feel fine. I didn't want to go. No matter how sick I was, I ran away. And the doctors finally gave up on me. So we stayed That's it. We stayed in Bergen-Belsen for, I guess, another 2 or 3 weeks. Then they cleaned us up. They took us over to a different camp, which was a healthy place already. We started coming back. We started eating. You know, stayed in the hospital. Not in the hospital. We went into the hospital because we wanted to go to Sweden, and they took us to Sweden then. I guess that's the story.
Questionnaire number 5, Romania. Where did you live in 1939?
In the same place.
Cecil?
Yeah, I was there.
Describe your town or neighborhood, the economic life, the communal, political, and religious organization.
Well, religious, very religious. Economical, but most of the people were poor around there. You mean the Jewish population or with the...
Both.
Well, I don't know what I can tell you. There was the Romanian people, they farmers most, all of them farmers. There was some Jewish too, they had land, and of course there were some people, they were pretty well off, but most of them it wasn't much work around there. And the Jewish people most, either they have a grocery or they're a shoyhead, you know, this kind of teacher or whatever, but wasn't no factories, no things like this. You know, work was for working people was very bad, yeah.
And was there were there political parties?
Well, yes, there was even communists. I remember the young people started, even the religious, my brother Nebach, even they had a hope, you know, the Russians are going to come. And there was one boy, a neighbor of mine, he was a very intelligent boy, and he was a real communist, you know. He was the leader. He took in lots of Jewish youngsters, but not only Jewish, because Jewish was hard because, you know, religion kept them back, and the parents, it was a different life than today. If the father said no, or the mother, that was it. But still, no, almost all of them were a little bit on the other side. Even the Christian, you know, I remember the priest's daughters, he had 3 daughters. I remember one of them was in. That boy, Neba, he used to have books. I was the youngest in the house, and of course they used to hide this kind of thing, but children always find out, you know how it is. I used to see this, they had meetings, and they took him away, the Hungarian took him away, and he died. He was in Kolozsvár, that was probably heard about it, a city not far from us, a big city. Over there they had a jail. I heard the story. He and other 2 boys, they punished him, they died. It was kind of a terrible place. They kept him over there. In the end, they said that they shot them. But anyway, he went because of that. He was a communist. And they did suspect all of the Jews, of course, because, you know, first of all, they had to put a reason on the Jews. But it was true. All young people were involved, because they were hoping, lots of them ran away, not from my town, but other towns, which was closer to the mountains, they could, you know, pass. I have a cousin here who lives in Borough Park. He ran away to Russia. He was 18 years old. Lots of girls and boys. Some of them died on the way because the mountains over there and the snow, they couldn't make it. It was very far, they went to Russia. And the rest, of course, the young people started to go on the Russian side, you know, the communists, they hoped that's the help. So that's all I know about politics. Of course, there were the Romanian, I guess, but the Hungarian not anymore. They didn't know where to belong. The farmers, plain people, when they had, their country was different. I remember my father used to go to vote, and I used to ask him, Tati, what are you going to vote? He says, of course, we're Democrats. Jews are always Democrats. That's all I remember. You know, a Romanian, because the Jews, we had very good in Romanian time, you know, very, very good. But then when the Hungarian came in, of course, the Jews were in trouble. And like I said, the young people, the older people, they just suffered. They didn't, you know. But the young kids, they started going on the communist side. And the farmers, I don't think they belonged any place, because they didn't know what happened to them, you know. They just took care of their...
What was the effect of the August 1940 anti-Jewish decrees to your personal life?
40? Well, schools, mostly, all children. They didn't have schools. But then, really, it didn't bother much with us then in the 40s, in the beginning. Not much. Of course, it was bad because it was a war on. They took all young men away. There wasn't much food, and people didn't have work, but nothing else. The mostly we suffered was the schools.
What was your occupation, and how did you fare economically between 1940 and 1949?
40 and 49, well, the first years, like I told you, there was nothing. Then after the camps, well, in Sweden, I was till 48. We worked over there. I worked in factories. We had a good life. And then I came to Israel in 48. In 49, I got married. I suffered through in Israel too. I remember I was plenty hungry. I just said to my daughter, I remember I was in Israel in the beginning. I was more hungry than I was in, maybe, I can't say like the camps, because I came over there, I had a lot of family, I didn't know about them. And I had no work in Israel, you know. Today is like something, but over then, they didn't care much about the single people. I came a single girl. I was an idealist, you know. I didn't want to come to America. I had a visa and I gave it up. I went to Israel, you know. I was from the Mizrahi. In Sweden, I was a Ganzermacher over there in the organization and all, and I came to Israel. I didn't want to go to a kibbutz because I was in Sweden, kibbutzim, in school, so I want to have some education, so we went to school. We had to support ourselves, so half a day we worked and half a day we learned. We kept our own teachers, see? I came to Israel and I didn't want to go to a kibbutz, and I couldn't go to the army because I was religious. And they didn't even want to take me. They had enough then. I remember I went to ask they should take me to the army. I didn't have what to do with myself. And finally I found family and I started working. I came to Rehovot. I met my husband over there. We were engaged. He was a soldier. We couldn't get married. Let me tell you. And then after that, my husband came out in 49 and we got married. He had a good job in Tel Aviv. Well, it started, you know, a little bit better, yeah.
In Romania, what was the relationship to you of your non-Jewish acquaintances and friends with the manifestations of anti-Semitism?
Well, there was always the same story. They let us know we're Jews, but I can't tell. I mean, in a little town where I grew up, we were so close with the, you know, the Jews and other Jews. They knew my family. My grandfather's grandfather was born there. He was a wealthy man. He always was in business. You know, he had land. He always was in business with Goyim and all. Of course, they didn't like us, but we didn't. I can't say they really made very much trouble till it started with the Germans. Then some of them started. You know, you see them come out. You know, like even the best neighbors, even the best friends, they started whatever they could take away. But still, when there was a crisis or something, I remember we went to hide, you know, there was one family that they asked my father, they want to hide me, they shouldn't take me along. I'm sure he would have given me out in the end, because it came out that he was a real anti-Semite, you know. He was in the same Friday they took us away, he came into our house to take out the things he had his eyes on already from a long time, you know. Of course there were, but I can't tell really that, like, you know, were afraid to go out or something. They never really made trouble.
Were there anti-Jewish pogroms in your neighborhood?
Yeah, well, there was supposed to be one, but that was not in this year's. That was in the 30s, I remember. It was a small girl. That was a Romanian time. We had a pogrom. I don't know if that's important. If you're just...
And there were none after that?
No. The only thing is when they took us away with the Germans, but that's all.
Were there any attempts to resist after 1939?
You mean the Jewish people by us? No. There was no one. The men wasn't there. There was only old people and children and women. There was no... I guess the only boys we had with us was 16, 17 years old. The rest, everybody went away.
And were there interventions by any of the leaders of the communities, you know, against the authorities?
No, they couldn't do nothing.
You were not a member of any youth movement or any political party?
No. Not over there. Like I tell you, after the 4 years I wasn't.
Yeah, no, before
but
now?
No.
Can you tell us all that you know about the relationship between your community and the Romanian authorities?
You mean, well, that wasn't, I don't know anything special.
Do you know of the existence of any Romanian opposition parties?
No.
Did you know anything about the mass murder of Jews in Poland? Did you hear anything about it?
Of course we even had one girl, she ran away from some place from Poland, I don't know where, and she came to our town, and she slept over in my house. She came in and she was, I don't know, people said she wasn't normal from all the trouble she went. She ran away, she went from one town to the other, you know, nobody wanted to hide her because people were afraid they're going to take them away. It so happens that she slept over in my house. That was really a nest. See, my brother-in-law, he was a butcher. And we weren't supposed to schechten kosher schita. So in our house, we had a big house and it was a big basement. They used to come and schechten, you know, the Scheuchert used to come and schechten our basement and sell the meat, you know. And the same night, the girls slept out in our house. They were schechten downstairs. It was a Thursday night. It was, let me see what year, must have been 2 years before we went. I must have been 14 or 15 years old, yeah. It was about 2 years before I think we went. She came to our house. No, I was 16. She came and she told us all these stories. And of course, we knew the troubles we had, but who can believe things she said, the way they killed the people, the way she ran away. But we couldn't put her out, and she slept in our house. My father used to go 3 o'clock in the morning to shul, you know, davening. And he came home and he said, you know, the police was walking the street the whole night in front of our house. They were watching for somebody schechten kosher. Imagine if they would have come into our house. The girl was sleeping in our house, and downstairs in the basement went the Scheuchert mit dem butcher. I'll never forget that. And then in the morning, she ran away to Sighet, a bigger town. I don't know what happened because the hill over there, I guess, did something. They took care of it. By us, there was no way where to take her. It was such a little town, no place to go. But I remember my father said that I guess the people, you know, did something about it. I don't know where they took her, what happened to her, poor girl.
And when exactly was this?
That must have been in 43. My mother died that year.
And what was the attitude of the local Jews to refugee Jews?
They didn't come, I tell you. She was the only one, really.
Oh.
Everybody was afraid because, you know, but they really didn't come because we were so far away from, you know, any place. Mostly, if they come, they came in the bigger cities where there was a lot of Jews and they could do something, not in a small town.
All right, about the ghetto. Where were you when the Germans first came?
Well, like I said, I was at home.
And did you move to another place?
Yes, they moved us to a different town, where the ghetto was.
This was Dragomir?
Right.
If you moved from place to place before the ghetto, did you move from place to place before the ghetto?
No.
In your life before the ghetto, what did you live on?
My father was a teacher.
And were there any contacts with non-German, non-Jews?
Only the Romanian people that lived in town.
And were you ever in touch with people abroad?
Abroad? Not really.
How did you react to the news that the ghetto would be set up?
I don't know if we even knew that's going to be a ghetto set up. You know the story about Kastner and the Hungarian Jews were just going like the animals because nobody told them anything, see? Imagine, they didn't know in Budapest, they didn't know in the big towns what's going on. And by us, over there so far away in a little town, like I told you, they wouldn't believe it. Everybody, my father, we weren't even supposed to mention it. That's not going to happen to us. It couldn't happen. We knew that when they finally came to take us to the ghetto, they're going to take us to camps, you know, to labor someplace. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know there is a crematorium, there are selections. We heard they killed people in Ukraine, or they killed people in Poland, but we didn't know really the story.
Did you see anybody else react? In other words, nobody around you knew anything else either?
There was one couple that they stayed home, you see. One couple, but they shot them, the Goyim. They were hiding in the mountains. By us was, you know, the country, like you go out here in the country, in mountains all over. They could have stayed over there for years and years. They too, a couple, they didn't have children. And then I heard that almost in the end, some of them, Goyim, somebody saw them and they came to the police and they shot them in the last minute. So that's the only couple I know that did something about it. We could have done, young children could have gone away, hide, run away. We didn't know.
Was there a Judenrat in your town, in the ghetto?
No, there was no. Well, you know how they came in, they took the kahila, they took the people which was responsible, you know. First of all, they took away the top people, you know, that they really did something in the place. They took them first of all away.
Mm-hmm.
So there were left a few old people which were supposed to be responsible. They called them in. They have to bring in the gold. They have to bring in the money. Every day there was a different, you know, something to. They were the people they did, but they didn't tell them anything. Didn't know. We didn't have no connection with nobody.
Do you remember the names of any of them?
By us, no, in the ghetto, I didn't even know the people who were, you know, because there were so many thousands. They brought them from all over, from every little town.
No, the ones from the Kahila.
From our town?
Yeah.
Well, let me see who was there. I don't remember. There was one. He's not alive anymore. He was here in America. I think he was Stigman. He's got 2 daughters and a son here. I think he was one. He must have been. He always was. And I really don't remember. So many years.
And they were all picked by the Germans. They weren't elected.
I guess. It wasn't picking either. They just called in a few people. They asked probably who knows what's going on, and just that, because they really didn't make like I know in Germany they have Judenrat, they had in Poland. But over there was so fast. They didn't even need to bother with these things. They did whatever they wanted to do.
What did the Judenrat do, or the Kahila?
By us, they didn't do anything. Like I told you, they had to bring in everything. They had to make sure that nobody runs away. They had to, I guess, they wanted to find out something. They didn't really have anything. But they wanted people to go to work, you know. They used to put together a few kids over there to do something. Nothing really important.
Did they do anything to help anybody? Did they set up kitchens and do things like this?
No,
nothing.
Everybody was taking care of themselves.
And they didn't set up schools either?
No, it wasn't time. 3 weeks, I mean.
3 weeks is short.
Of course.
What did you think of those people who were under Kahila or the Judenrat?
There is nothing to. They didn't know anything. They didn't know any more than I did or anybody else. Whatever they told them, they did.
And do you know what the other people in the town where you were living thought of those people?
I guess the same.
Do you have a different opinion now about them than you had then?
No. The same opinion.
Do you know if they changed? In other words, if there was one group and then that group was deported and then there was another group, or was it always the same?
Everybody went together.
No, I mean, did the Judenrat change or the Kahila change?
No.
It stayed the same until the end. Was any forced labor done while you were in the ghetto?
No, only what I told you, a little, we went something to clean for the Germans. So it wasn't really no labor over there.
And nobody else did anything either?
No.
Did you get paid for what you did?
No, of course not.
Did you get food?
No, nothing.
And if you didn't want to do forced labor, could you get out of it? In other words, were there some people who managed
really,
to...
You see, there was some people that was, like, say, they were like police. You see, they picked boys and they gave them to put on that there is the police, you know. They had the right to go from one place to the other. We couldn't move. You had to stay in the same place. So these boys were responsible for order, you know. And then they came and made a list and asked a few, every day somebody else to go to work. I could have maybe say I don't want to go, somebody else is going to go. But there wasn't nothing serious about it. They didn't really bother with us.
Now, that Jewish police, how was it organized?
Just like that. The Germans called them in. I guess it was the people from the Kahila. They told them, the older people, make some young boys, whatever was left, that they're the police and they're going to take care. They didn't have what to do. They just, if there was something to tell, they went from one house to the other to count the people, to see that nobody goes away. Yes.
How many of them were there, do you know?
No, it was a big place over there, lots of. There was some boys from my town, a few, I don't know how many. I know one. And the rest, I guess, from every place, from every town they took. I don't know.
Who controlled whom? Did the Judenrat control the police, or did the police control the Judenrat? Who was stronger? Or who had
It
more
wasn't a
power?
question. It wasn't a question of power over there. They just did whatever they told them. The orders came from the Germans, and they knew that they couldn't do anything about it. So whatever they told them, they did.
Do you know who the commanders of that Jewish police were?
No, I have no idea.
What, in your recollection, was the behavior of the Jewish police? What did you think of them
Well,
then?
Kids only. They were very nice. They didn't, whatever. They just had an occasion to go visit. You know, that wasn't really herumgeschleppt. They didn't have really something important to do. I remember they used to come around, you know, whoever, let's play cards. But there wasn't anything what to do.
And nobody else had any bad thoughts about the meeting?
No. As a matter of fact, it was a good thing sometimes. You know, somebody was sending somebody to a family or was teaching mit him, is he all right? You know, just, but that wasn't really police, just make believe.
Were there food rations in your ghetto?
Yeah, they gave us, everything was rations then. I mean, even before the ghetto, we didn't have.
What was the quantity of the rations?
It wasn't like in the camps, let me say. It just, there was, there and that they gave out, before we left at least, they gave us some flour, this we should bake bread, we should take, and this. But most we had our own food still, you know, what we brought from home. Whatever we had, we shared. They didn't give us nothing, just before we left something.
Was there a house committee in your ghetto?
House committee? No idea. There must have been, after all, they put all these people in different places. I don't know who was really, I have no idea.
Were there social organizations that operated